We're at Sibos 2015 in Singapore, one of the financial capitals of the world. My name is Chris Principe. I'm from Financial IT, and I have the privilege of speaking with David Henner from Misys. Hi David, how are you?
Hey Chris, good to see you.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about the company and your specific area?
Well, Misys is one of the biggest providers of financial software. We service all segments of the market: retail banking, corporate banking, transaction banking, treasury and capital markets. My specific role is within transaction banking and heading up the product management function for trade and supply chain finance. My responsibilities span what we call front to back. So I manage the content of the back office application, which is trade innovation, and the front office corporate channel, which is servicing the communication between the corporate and the bank. So I have to make sure that all the functionality in those two applications knit together to deliver a front-to-back solution. Yep.
Well, great. I mean, very interesting. And of course, the trade innovation product is well known in the market for many years. Quite an outstanding customer base. Coming into Sibos, what do you think are some of the key things that the trade innovation solution is able to provide the market?
Well, we have a well-established functionality in traditional trade, of course. My job is to manage a product roadmap to sustain our market-leading position. That product roadmap has a technical side to it, which is dedicated towards quality and performance, which are obviously very important. But from a functional perspective, we are investing in four main areas. The first one is regulation, because you can't talk about trade today without talking about regulation, whether it's capital adequacy or sanction screening or whatever it is. We have a strategic partnership with Fircosoft to do the sanction screening piece. We're also investing in risk and financing, obviously the whole new range of supply chain finance solutions, if I can call it that, or bank-assisted open accounts, so approved payables, invoice discounting, bank payment obligation. Also on the risk side, being able to de-risk the trade business. So again, a combination of Misys applications linking together trade innovation with Loan IQ to do risk participations, or potentially also linking trade innovation to a treasury application called Summit to do trade asset securitizations. That's a very interesting area now today. Banks looking to de-risk or to distribute risk away from trade in order to make more efficient use of limited amounts of capital. Digitization, which is a real buzzword at the moment. Banks relying less and less on physical collateral, more and more reliant on data that is kind of trapped in the system, and there's a lot of it, the so-called big data. So how do you apply data analytics in order to generate business intelligence to help the banks offer or to enhance their value propositions? And the fourth piece is, in general terms, globalization, recognizing the displacement of traditional trading relationships, north, south, east, west, replaced with so-called south-south trade, emerging market to emerging market. So, whereas we offer a global processing solution to the major banks, in each case you have to have the capability of servicing local market requirements. And in those cases where we have identified strategic markets, we have built that local functionality into our core application to strengthen our marketing position in those markets.
Well, David, I found it very interesting because your strategy really covers a lot of the key things that is going on in the market, a lot of the key buzzwords. So, from compliance to supply chain finance, risk, yep, digitalization, globalization.
We covered it all.
Yeah. So here at Sibos, as you're meeting with customers and prospects and other people in the industry, what do you think their view is, and what are your takeaways from some of the things you heard?
Coming into the event, I had sensed a little bit of a sea change in behavior, whereas a lot of the conversations over the last few years have been dominated by this word regulation and compliance, bit of doom and gloom, the unintended consequences and all of that. Now suddenly everywhere you look, I would say in the last 3 months, everywhere you look, it's digitization. And people getting excited about the opportunity or the power of leveraging digitization to commercial advantage. And that's an area that we are looking, as I mentioned, to invest in terms of enhancing business intelligence in particular, and also in terms of supporting digital initiatives such as SWIFT MT798 and bank payment obligation again, and the whole dematerialization of trade.
Well, again, very interesting. And one of the key takeaways I have from what you just said is that there's a change in the industry that you're sensing from yes, this doom and gloom to digitalization, which sounds much more uplifting and gives us much more of a focus back to the business.
Indeed.
So in terms of your strategy and the solution, how are you, maybe you can give us a couple of specifics on how the solution is going to be delivering to your customers some of the benefits of digitalization?
Well, I guess I've covered those in my preceding remarks, Chris. The main area for me in that context is in business intelligence. I think, as I mentioned, you've got a lot of data out there. One of the quotes I came across recently is that the complexity of data is increasing by 1,000% per decade. I have no idea how you measure complexity of data as compared to amount of data, but anyway, there's a lot of data, right? So the banks now are wrestling with how do we access that data, how do we analyze that data, how do we share that data, how do we leverage that data to achieve commercial advantage and to strengthen the underpinning value propositions. So that's a key area for us and for our client base.
David, as one of the well-known people in our industry and an expert in many of the things trade, you'd be the right person for me to ask that. What do you see for the future? What's the landscape look like going ahead?
Difficult one to answer, Chris, to be honest. I think we are living through a decade still where innovation has largely been constrained by regulation. And I'm not saying that regulation is wrong. Regulation is necessary. It's got a necessary evil, if you like, but there's only a certain amount of roadmap capacity that is left available to innovate when you have to comply with regulation. Having said that, digitization, again, is one of the major changes that will impact on the industry going forward. The other word that I'm seeing here everywhere is blockchain. Now, I don't think anyone today, in all honesty, has worked out the true value of blockchain. I think it almost certainly will have a relevance in supply chain. I think it almost certainly will have a relevance in terms of potentially reducing the huge amount of reconciliation work that banks have to invest in today. So that would be my takeaway.
Well, David, we really appreciate it. I mean, Misys is so well known for the trade innovation solutions for many years. It's had certainly its share of impact and innovation on the industry, and we certainly look at your stewardship of trade innovation as taking that continued forward.
All right.
From Financial IT, we thank you very much for spending a few minutes with us.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Chris Principe, Financial IT.